This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi and continuing coverage of the case against Bryan Kohberger.
It is indeed, and we're going to dig into some of the newly released evidence that was unearthed by the reporting of Dateline NBC. Joining us is Shavaun Scott, psychotherapist and author, to help us separate the calculated from the compulsive and the creepy from the clinically relevant. Shavaun, based on what Dateline has revealed, and we have some clips we'll watch here in just a few moments, Kohberger's search is about how to go about life here. His fascination with serial killers like Bundy, his repeated trips near the victim's house. How much of this looks very much like premeditation versus some sort of impulsive obsession? And what can those behaviors tell us about his underlying psychology? There's a lot there.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I was waiting to hear was, what kind of porn is this guy into? Because it carries tremendous significance when you're dealing with people, who have accusations of sex offenses. You want to get into their internet history. And so what I heard is that he was looking for porn related to women who were drugged, sleeping, unconscious. And that, that's kind of a red flag.
It's obviously a genre out there for some rather disturbed individuals, but it's out there. And the fact that he's looking at it and he has pictures of women on his phone, the defense is going to argue, look, he was a 20-some-year-old guy. Yeah, he's into some kind of weird porn, but it doesn't make him a killer. There's plenty of guys who are watching porn, and there's plenty of guys who have pictures of busty young women on their phone. That'll be the simple defense. But when all put into context, does it tell us a different story?
Yeah, it sure does for me. And the pictures on his phone, big difference if this was, a girlfriend or someone that was consenting to having their photo taken. But if he was sneakily snapping photos of people, and that was the sense I got, these were not people who he knew that, were willing to pose for photos for him. That's another red flag that makes me concerned, is people who are sneaking photos of other people.
Yeah, and I don't know how much it was him sneaking the photos as much as it was going onto other people's Instagram accounts and such and just kind of taking the photos, which in itself is a bit of a weird thing to do.
I prefer not to see people getting photos that way. There are enough legitimate ways you can look at photos of attractive women. Online, people who have posted things there, but going into other people's personal stuff and taking their photos is, to me, that's something that disturbs me. I would want to look at that person more closely.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the thing. And we've learned that some of the photos, or Dateline has reported and has learned that some of the photos are of fairly close friends of people that were in that house. We don't know all the details yet. I'm sure it will come out in court. But the fact that the web goes that far. We don't know if there was anything with the actual victims there. But what does that tell us about what's going on here? Was this kind of, was he working? Allegedly, he's innocent until proven guilty. But if in fact it is him, is this someone who's kind of working their way backwards to get forward to where, or to the people they want to get to by going through friends and kind of working it that way?
Yeah, it speaks to me of somebody who had a fixation, who was cyber stalking, who was apparently, according to the data about the car being in the vicinity, was physically stalking. And all those things paint a picture that, as the DNA has led back to him, that confirm that.
Another thing that was going on, and obviously we've heard about it too with the searches, and it's part of the search history, looking up a lot of Ted Bundy. Yes, obviously he is a criminology student, so I guess not that extremely crazy of a possibility, but when you consider the striking similarities, although Ted Bundy had a charisma about him, Kohberger does not at all.
Maybe he was aspiring. He wanted a little bit of Bundy's charisma and didn't have it.
It's like Bundy without charisma is basically what it is. But probably someone that Kohberger might have looked up to. I mean, that's just speculation. But especially when you put it all into context with that picture at the end of the day, and that's the one we've talked about so many times, the one in the shower with the thumbs up. That seems to be, amongst other nods, to Bundy as well, with Bundy's thumbs up photo. What do you make of all that? Is this something? Is it show us anything? Does it give it any weight in court that he was looking up Ted Bundy prior to the murders taking place?
Yeah, in and of itself, it wouldn't necessarily mean anything. A lot of people are curious about Ted Bundy, all the movies that have been made about him, books written about him. It's sort of like something freakish that people want to understand. But I think, again, it's everything in context here, and taking photos of himself, selfies of himself in the same manner as to look like Bundy. Again, it just puts a layer of creepiness on all of it that, it's another piece of the whole picture that I think does carry weight.
It's quite an extreme thing just to jump in and go, I'm going to kill 4 people, or kill anyone in general. Just to go from 0 to that. I'm going to guess there was some buildup here, and there may have been some fantasizing going on. There may have been some, test runs in a certain way. Maybe that's part of the car circling the house all those times. But even deeper than that, Dateline reported on a very interesting piece of behavior, and that is that of Kohberger helping out a fellow teacher, a fellow teaching assistant, who he became kind of friends with, a female that also was in the same apartment complex as he shared. The story goes that she came into her apartment one day and her cosmetics were lined out on the counter where she did not normally put them. Nothing was taken. It was just very odd to see that because nobody should have been coming in and out of the house. She gets scared. She reaches out. She tells her friend Bryan, who she sees every day, and then he becomes the hero. He comes in, helps her set up a security camera, has access to the Wi-Fi password, has access to the security camera password. And she looks back on this going, oh God, was he studying me? Was he following me? Let's talk about that for a little bit. Obviously, she was not one of his victims in the sense of murder, but a victim in another way. What do you think is going on there? What is going on in someone like Kohberger's mind that he's going to carry out behaviors like that?
Yeah, that's a really chilling one. And, guys who go on to become serial killers often start with stalking, with voyeurism, and with breaking into women's homes. Sometimes they steal an undergarment or something that they think won't be missed. And so when I heard about her cosmetics being lined up in a particular way, my brain took me to also, well, he has OCD tendencies, which are pretty well documented at this point. And did he just think her bathroom was too messy and he felt this urge to have to straighten everything up for her, which may be absurd and it may be true, who knows? Yeah. But, clearly for her then to turn to him for help, wow, what an opportunity for him to gather more information and video possibly of her. So pretty scary. As
non-socially skilled as he is, he seemed to be skilled a bit in just kind of the mechanics of life. Because when you just look at the cause and effect of this, most people aren't going to think if this happened to them, that their cosmetics are lined up weirdly on their counter, that the person you're asking is the one who actually did it. That's just not something that would normally go through one's mind. But it's a real simple thing to do. I mean, you really just look at the mechanics of it. If you want to be the hero in somebody's life, well, instill a little bit of fear. And then be the person that's going to help take those fears away. That seems to be exactly what he did. And that's yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily then play into the murders, though, either. Is that more just like a control move? Is it a confirmation move of, look, I can get away with this, and it just kind of a step up to more and more extreme behavior?
Yeah, and getting away with things is exciting. It's sort of like the prelude to the big thing, which is going to be the killings. But there may have been some things that she never missed. Who knows how many times he had actually been in her apartment, and what things he may have taken that were missed. And we don't know how many times might he have done this to other people. These kind of low-level burglary, stalking, voyeuristic kinds of things. My guess would be that he had been doing this sort of thing for years.
Is this
and just never gotten caught?
Is something like this, is that compulsive, or I mean, is that calculated? And when I say compulsive, meaning like he has little control over to whether he's going to do it or not. It's the thought gets into his head, and it's just this urge that he can't quench. Is that the kind of thinking that some of these people have?
I'd say it's like addiction, where somebody ruminates about something, they fantasize about something, they sexualize it, so they're masturbating while they're thinking about it and fantasizing, and the idea of going into someone's personal space, they get a sense of power, that they can sneak around and do these sort of things. And so, it's a good question. At what point do people have control over their addictions, and when do they not have any control? I tend to lean on the side of they've got control, but it may feel very much like a compulsive urge. But, I have a compulsive urge to eat ice cream. I mean, that's as severe as I get, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't keep it in the house. I can manage that urge because it's in my best interest to not be sitting there eating ice cream all the time.
Yeah, I mean, every time, when I see you, when we first log on to this, you always have to put the ice cream bowl down. And I know there's a lot of times you're trying to sneak it between questions, but I get it. It's a battle.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.